no way I'm going. There ain't got no way, I'm gonna make it without my Lord. No, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. No, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. No. There ain't got no way, I'm gonna make.
And just to name 3 of the 4 that she had written. So let's just welcome Rachel Burrell as she comes and she speaks about the heart of the warrior with purpose. You're welcome.
Yes, it's a pleasure.
Yes.
So how do things go with your client?
How do things go with?
Your
Oh,
client.
oh my goodness. So I made one final, call as the day was ending, and ended up going through, sending out a proposal. So now we wait to see if we're successful in that proposal. So my apologies.
Okay. So Rachel, we want to have a very engaging and I should say purposeful conversation with you. That word purpose. So my
Yeah.
first question to you is simply this. What does it mean to have the heart of a warrior with purpose?
That's a great question. Interesting because a few years back, I wrote a song called Warrior Woman. And I wrote that from the perspective of someone who has, in spite of what has been thrown at her, she's found a way to keep going. So to me, that's what a warrior is. It's like there's some challenges that are going to come your way, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe a lot of people might give up and throw in the towel, but a warrior is going to keep going. They're going to look for another way to see the situation through. They're going to look for a way to see themselves out of the situation. So I see a warrior, but a warrior is also someone who isn't always in a battle. A warrior is someone who leads with love
Uh-huh.
and purpose. So I think that this is twofold. It's the side where you're an overcomer. You're not, when your back's against the wall, you're not shying away from that, but you're like, okay, bring it on. But also, like, I think a warrior is able to lead with love, because love in itself is revolutionary and something that I think is a part of being a warrior. So
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
So, in terms of the strength and the courage, the determination that makes the warrior maintain that posture and focus on the purpose,
Mhm.
what do you think you got your strength, your resilience from? What was that like for you, emotionally as well as spiritually?
Mhm. I have to say, I think that a part of it is innate. I
Mhm.
can't take credit for all of it. I think there's something inside of me that I was naturally born with,
Right.
where uh, I have this mental strength. And there are pros and cons to that, because the mental strength part of it is that everyone's always like, Rachel's got it, but Rachel always comes through. Rachel can handle it, but Rachel always handles it. Um,
Mm.
but the other side of that is that I am a self-motivated person. Uh,
Okay.
so that if something's going wrong, or the situation looks uh, like it's insurmountable, I'm always the person that's like looking. I'm like looking in all directions for a way, like, and I'll keep going until I find it. Like, I think anyone who like knows me well is like, okay, we already know how she's moving. So I think just a lot of situations that I found myself in growing up, that you get put in these situations that when you're a child you don't really have control over certain things.
Hmm.
and you're figuring things out, and you might not be able to voice your opinions in certain ways, and you might not be in a position where you have resources to go about things a certain way. But I think that from very early, I recognized certain things, and uh, it made me want to look for different avenues, right? Because I was talking about this with with a colleague today, that sometimes when you go through things, it happens each generation. It goes down within the family or whatever the case is, and you kind of get used to like this is the way things are done. And people might not be satisfied with certain things, but it's very hard sometimes to change something. It's easier to just go along with it. But there's always been something about me where, frankly, I'm very comfortable um, standing alone initially. I think that when you know what you want to achieve and your mind's set up to achieve it, you're willing to stand alone for the time being, because when people see your passion, you're going to find some people who are your tribe and they're going to join you. So I
Yes.
think, yeah, yeah, to answer your question.
Yeah, I like your spirit, Rachel. It's very encouraging. One thing I would love to hear from you is when you look back at your life, is there any one defining moment in your story that stands out for you and you realize you can draw so much from it with regards to the decisions that you made to be a warrior?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I think one thing that stands out to me is when I got involved in musical theater at junior year of high school. I was actually really depressed at the time. And that was before I even, it's funny because at that age, I should know what depression is, but at the same time, it's not something that's talked about. I'm Jamaican background, so it's something we don't really talk about in the culture a lot
Yes,
of time.
yes,
Um,
yes,
so discuss certain things. Yeah. And so I remember just being like really depressed. And I remember speaking with a friend about it, and I was just like, man, like, I'm like ready to give up, you know. But I have like the foundation of a mom who's really grounded in like prayer and all of that. And so I know that whatever's going on with me, she's praying. But the thing is that at the time I was, man, I was ready to give up. And I just so happened to stumble across um, some auditions that were taking place for one of the school musicals, and on a whim I went in an audition that wasn't even like I planned and knew was happening. And I think for me that was a turning point because it gave me a voice and something to belong to. I think a lot of times we lose our way because we feel alone, we feel like no one understands, we don't have community, and all those things are very important. I
yeah,
talked earlier about how I'm used to going at it alone, and that is true. A lot of that maybe comes from feeling like I needed to do certain things. You know, maybe some people weren't seeing the vision that I was doing. So it was like, okay, if you don't see it, I can't wait for you to see it. I've got to keep it moving. But the thing is that community is also very important. So I think that was a turning point for me because I truly think that if I did not get involved in musical theater at that time, I don't know. I don't know where I would have gone mentally.
wow,
So that for me was a turning point of when I started. Okay, I got involved in musical theater. Now I have something to look forward to after school, rehearsal, great, great, great. And that led me then into like writing my own songs. So before I even thought about writing books, I would just write songs and poetry, and that really was an outlet. You know, that was an outlet for me to just, okay, maybe I don't have someone who might understand what I'm going through, but I'm going to write about it. And it was when I started performing some of these songs that I realized, oh, actually, some people do understand what I'm going through. So that's the importance of the community aspect in the share. But I think when I think about something from the past that was like a turning point where I started to step into my own, I would say
yes.
that was that.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's what, yeah, wonderful story. So I know Gabriella is itching, Rachel.
Hi,
I'm
Gabrielle.
just gonna hand you over to
Hi.
Ah.
Gabriella.
I just want to piggyback on that story that you spoke about, and even before high school, in reading your interview with the Vision and Purpose Lifestyle magazine, you shared about growing up in a family where communication wasn't a priority, and this led you to discover writing and music at a tender age of 8. So, looking back, can you describe, what that experience was like for you as a child at 8, realizing that now you have to find a way for you to express yourself through writing and through music? And how did it shape your emotions at 8 and understanding the world around you?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
This goes back to what I was saying earlier, where I truly think that certain things are just innate with me. You know, I'm someone who wants to find a solution. I don't want to leave it. I don't want to guess. I don't want to figure out. I don't want to wonder. I want to talk, you know, and
Yeah.
I understand that there's a time and place for things, but I've always been someone who, and more important, not just talking, but to be heard. I think a lot of times people might not realizing that if they're kind of like seeing someone, you're just a child, so I'm automatically here and you're there. So what I say goes, or don't talk back, or whatever, you know, whatever
Yeah.
is that you might feel like, okay, but I want to be heard too. And I think something that people might not realize is that even kids want to be heard. And
Yeah.
not only do they want to be heard, they deserve to be heard. So I think that, you know, from then I was just searching, you know, like looking for something because like I'm saying, and I don't want to say it like I don't necessarily think it was intentional. I think this is what I was saying earlier. Where I think a lot of things are. This was always the way of doing things. So this is how I saw things. So this is how what I'm gonna do with you. You know, this is how we've always done it. This, you know, and I've never really liked that as an answer. This is why I think I've been rebellious from early. I don't like this is how we've always done it because I want to know the why. Why is this how we've always done it? You know,
Yes.
so I think, yeah, that's something that stuck with me then, and I'm that way now. Like, okay, but it's not enough to just why, you know. And if you can't back it up with the why, then I'm gonna go looking for the why, and I'm maybe a little reluctant because if you're gonna stand by something, you should be able to say why. If you're gonna say this is why we've always done it, why, or why haven't you challenged it? Are you okay with it? And if you're okay with it, you got to tell me why you're okay with it. But if you're not okay with it, I would implore people to challenge it because you know, like this is how we grow. This is how we learn. This is how,
Yes.
but you know, to answer your question, yeah, I've just always that has to be innate because I've always just wanted to on a, see things on a deeper level. Even from when I was a kid, my mind was just always going. I'm just always thinking about something. So I think, and I would get up in church and perform poetry, and you know, all those things were just natural. I just wasn't shy to get up there, even though in school I might be shy when I was a kid. Teachers were like, "But your daughter's so shy," but I'm not shy on stage. So I think, yeah, to answer your question, I've just always, I think that part is innate because I'm really big on communication, not just speaking, but listening. A lot of people don't realize that listening is communication. Like,
Yes.
you know, so yeah.
The heart of a warrior. So this was really innate. So it wasn't by guess that you chose this particular team, And I must commend you for being at that tender age of 8 and having that kind of mindset and having that resilience and that determination to not allow what might be the norm to determine your future, and that is so powerful. Your brand pulse for purpose. It
Hmm.
suggests that we have a pulse, and once we have a pulse, we have purpose, right? But what would you say to someone whose pulse is beaten, but they're just existing?
Hmm. Yeah, I think I would say probably most of us have been there, including me, which is you know how I
Yes.
got to that point. You know, yeah, I think this is the part where it is a conscious thing, right? This is the part where it might not necessarily be innate. This is the part where you have to consciously say, I don't want to be stagnant. I don't want to go through the motions. I want more. And again, I was talking about I had like a heart to heart with a colleague today. We were just,
Yes.
but we were talking about it because I was telling him something that I've come to realize, and it's really not something I invented or came up with, but everything really starts in the mind. So I think when someone's feeling that way, I would say go back to what you're thinking. Like, what are your thoughts telling you? What have you been harping on? Because a lot of times when we're focused on like the aspects of things that aren't going right, then that's when we become stagnant, because then we start to say, and I've been guilty of this, but nothing's changing anyway. I've been trying for so long and it's still the same. So why should I try? I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And this is where it's really tempting to just give up. And the heart of a warrior, and this part is something that, life is, the concrete jungle. This is where life is like. This is where it's like a conscious decision. Like, I want different. I want better. So therefore, my actions have to be reflective of that. Because it is not enough to say, I want different, I want better. The actions, but it starts in the mind. So in the
Yes.
mind, you have to believe that. It can't just be like, I want better, but you kind of don't believe it. Because the way you know that you believe it is based on your actions. If you really believe it, your actions are going to start to reflect that. So I would say that if someone's feeling like they're just existing, start to write. You don't have to be a writer. You can just jot down anything. Jot down what you're feeling. Jot down why you're feeling that way, and start to uh, do things that involve self-improvement. Like, I like to listen to motivational videos. I like to read. Like, start to look at things that you can do and take baby steps that are going to make you feel happy. So if you enjoy drawing, then take 15 minutes to do that. Because once you start to get in this routine of doing something that you don't feel forced to do, but it's because you enjoy it, that's when you start to awaken again. Like, okay, because a lot of times we feel bogged down because of responsibilities and we feel stuck in things that we really don't enjoy. Like, and we start to feel like there's no other option. But I firmly believe that life is made up of options. Everything
Yes.
is a yin and yang. There's day and night. There's sun and moon. There are always options. There's not just one thing. And so we can't. That is a lie. When we start to believe that there are no options, we have to almost train ourselves to start to look for the alternative, so that then our actions start to reflect that.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that, and that's so powerful as well. That mindset, having that mindset to go forward and to think in that line where you say, you're not going to let the situations, hold you back from doing what you have to do for being that purposeful person. But
Yeah.
have you ever questioned your purpose? Even after finding it, and what did that internal battle look like for you?
Oh yeah. I probably was questioning it today as I was heading out the door. But yeah, of course, because it's a constant evolution, and it's, if anyone says that they don't have bad days or days when they're questioning things, maybe they're telling the truth and maybe they're not. But I know that while I have a core sense of what it is that I want to do, and what it is that I want to do ultimately is leave an impact through my words, whether written or spoken. So I know that in the macro sense. On the micro level, there's still things that, I mean, we have to do day to day. Like, I still have to, there's still certain routines that we follow every day within this system that
Yes.
is not impossible to break out of, but we still have these things and responsibilities. So, and the other thing is that we there are things that we can control and there are things that we can't control. So when something happens that we can control, it might throw us for a loop where now we might need to reassess some things. Like, wait a second, is this actually what I'm supposed to be doing? Why did this happen? So it is. Yeah, I have moments where I might say, I wish I'd done this earlier. I wish, I still
Yeah.
have those moments, but at the core of it, when it comes to knowing that my gift lies within writing and reaching people through words, because even in my day job with marketing and sales, it's communication. Like, I'm
Yes.
very comfortable just speaking with people. So I just feel like I know at the core of it, no matter what I'm doing, what I'm saying, or is gonna be impactful, and that's what I hope, at least.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Andy. Do you have any more questions for our guests?
Oh yeah, lots of. I want to turn to the writing for a moment.
Okay.
And Rachel, I'm reading something here with regards to journey to purpose. And it says, have you been worrying about the state of your life? Have you been questioning God about the state of your life? Does it seem like you're always a victim and never a victor? Have you been feeling unsure about your purpose on this earth? I want you to expand on that a bit and tell us where is it coming from and what's the message you want people to get out of it.
Yeah. Um, that kind of goes back to what I was mentioning before, where um, well, first of all, a lot of times when I'm writing something, it's because I've experienced it. So those
Yeah.
questions are questions that I've asked. And when I
Okay.
was talking of myself, and when I was, God, where are you? Hello. So the thing that I was mentioning earlier, where a lot of time once I started performing, some of the things that I was writing, I was when I was realizing that I'm actually not alone. Other people feel and think the same way. That's such a powerful thing. It's the same thing. I figured if I've been wondering where God is, and I've certainly felt like a victim because some of the things that happened were happening was like one after the other in a boxing match that I never signed up for. Like, whoa, okay, it's like life's coming in all directions. So yeah, I felt like, okay, this is crazy. I must have done something. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I was like, I must have done something in a past life because I'm analyzing my own behaviors in this and I don't feel deserving of this. So,
Right.
you start to feel like a victim. And so all of those questions I've asked, so I'm like, have you asked those as well? Because if you have, I want you to read this because these are some things that I implemented. And again, I have to go back to the drum. I have to go back to my mind, to my mindset. I write about that extensively because it really begins there. Um, because if you feel like a victim, why do you feel that way? Circumstances might say, yeah, you've been getting knocked down, but then you started to believe it. You start to believe that actually I am deserving of this. Actually, it really isn't going to get better.
Wow.
And when you've been knocked several times over and over, it's actually really easy and maybe even in some ways might seem justified to feel that way. So this is not, because I felt that way, you know, um, but it really is a mindset shift, literally. Like where it's like, okay. One of the things that I love to do is read autobiographies and biographies. And I love to read other people's stories and I love to as business owners or anyone who maybe started out in a rough neighborhood, whatever the case is, and they overcame. I want to read it because those things are reminders. So it's your what you're putting in your mind too, like constantly like seeking out people who've been through stuff that you've been through or you're going through at the time, and they're literally giving you the blueprint through their story. This is how I overcame it. This is how I went from broke to this. This is how I went from broken in spirit to finding God. Whatever the case is, they're literally giving you the blueprint. And
Yeah.
someone, I heard a quote one day that said, success leaves clues. And it's true. Success
Yes.
leaves clues. But are
Yes.
you looking? Are you looking? Because they're there. The clues are there.
Yeah.
People usually have the outline for you. And everyone who's done what you aspire to do, that's the blueprint. And if you feel like they haven't done it, you'll be the blueprint. But again, it starts in the mind. But more often than not, you know how things go in cycles, like bell bottoms or back ends, whatever the case is, things go in cycles. So the blueprint's there. Success leaves clues. So that that's my blueprint. Is that I've been down and out when I wrote Journey to Purpose. I was ready to give up. I was literally questioning God. Even though like I said, I grew up, with my mom was praying and God's, I'm like, yeah, really God's real? Because I'm not seeing it. That's how I was feeling.
Yeah.
So, yeah, uh, but I tell you, it really is nice when someone's in your corner to sort of, but sometimes you have to also, in some cases, motivate yourself in the meantime. Or also seek out community because the other thing that I found, because someone said to me, like, Rachel, you're so used to like what I was talking about earlier, you're so used to doing everything alone. You don't mention when you need help. Yeah, it's very uncomfortable for me to reach out to someone and say, like, I need help. Or I usually just hand it myself. But the thing about it is that sometimes people want to help and be there for us, but they don't know that what's happening. So
Yes.
use discernment to know when and who to open up to, but know that community is also important.
Wow. Rachel, you just took us to class there. You know that. You opened up a whole new world with regards to purpose and one's ability to understand how to engage with purpose. And resilience, I think, is something that you refer to, mindset as well. It is so encouraging and so life filled to hear you speak with the level of conviction and compassion that you speak with. So here's my next question: how important is it for someone to earlier in their life rather than later discover their true purpose?
That's a good question. Um, I don't put a cap on it.
Uh huh.
And it's interesting because everything in this society, maybe not everything, but a lot of things are there's a cap. Oh, you just turned 30 and you didn't do this? What?
Yeah.
Why
Yes.
did you do that? And it's like, no, I didn't, but there's these constraints that you might not even put on yourself that other people are putting on you. And it is really exhausting. It's like, I didn't make up the rule that I need to do this by this time. You did, but it doesn't mean that I have to play by it. But yeah, no, I don't think there are any constraints because like the thing is that I also think we should always be evolving and growing, right? So as we're stepping into ourselves more and more, that the purpose changes and evolves with us. So that's ever changing or should be as long as we're alive. It's like everything grows. Like life literally signifies growth, So we should be growing and evolving. So you could find your purpose at 50, 60, 80. I mean, there's nothing that says, oh, you just turned 30. All right, well, pack it up. That's, yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that response. There's no limit, there's no cap.
There's no limit.
You can
Yeah,
find purpose at
yeah.
any given time in life. That is so real, and we have seen it happen to so many people in real life. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. So,
Mm-hmm.
let's go back to Gabriella now. I know that there's something bubbling somewhere.
That's awesome.
But before I hand over to Gabrielle, I just want to remind our audience that Rachel is here to answer your questions and to see your comments. Her story is one of amazement because she came from obscurity and found her way dealing with depression and not being understood and not being heard, and had to find these avenues that she feels were innately placed within her by the creator, and discovering that give her an outlet, an opening whereby she started writing songs. She sings, she creates those songs, and she also uses the opportunity to put that information in books that have made a difference in people's lives. So there are many questions and there are many comments that you can make with regards to Rachel's life and her story as far as that is concerned. And she considered it to be purpose and the heart of a warrior. So over to you, Gabriella.
Thank you, Andy.
Welcome.
Rachel, so I would like to know when it comes to the purpose, do you think there's a distinct difference between purpose and passion, or are they of much the same?
That's a good question. That is a
Hmm.
good question.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
um, I think they can be. I think they can be, but not necessarily. But I think they can be. I mean, I think a lot of times um, your purpose is something that I think they can be because if I'm passionate about writing, but that might not. I mean, I might use that writing to write something that doesn't uplift and motivate, even though I'm passionate about writing. So I think the purpose part is a deliberate and conscious decision. So the passion, you could be passionate about sports, but you might not go into professional, being a professional ball player, or you might not use that voice to be a role model. So I think the purpose is more deliberate, but I do think that the two can work hand in hand. So yes, I'm passionate about writing. Yes, I'm passionate about singing. But the purpose part of it is like, how do I want to use that singing and writing? So I could write about anything. Some of the things that people write, it might be actually self-destructive if someone's really listening to what's being said. So I think the purpose part of it is like more intentional.
Okay. And for someone who is kind of grappling with that kind of, that being in that gray area where they may say, okay, I'm passionate about this, but God is calling them to be something else. I'm passionate about being a footballer, I'm passionate about dancing, but it may not be the purpose that God has over your life. How does someone actually decipher and say, okay, how do they actually dig into what is their purpose rather than what might be what they enjoy, what they might be passionate about? How do they get a clear cut answer?
That's a good question as well. I'm not. I think that your purpose is more of service. So I think that your purpose is something that you're thinking about other people and how it could affect or help them. So if someone might be passionate about football and they're still going to go into it as part of their purpose because they overcame and made it to this level, and they know that someone else seeing them is going to inspire them, and that's a part of their purpose. So I think once you step into your passion, I do think it the two, like I said, it's a very fine line, because I think once you
Yes.
step into your passion, because you care about it so deeply, you usually want to give it your all, and that is purposeful, because it's going to impact someone one way or another. Usually when people, because there's a certain joy that comes with you when you're passionate about something, right? When you're passionate about something, you're going above and beyond. You want, and people can see that. People can see when you're not enjoying what you're doing. They're probably here is complaining, oh man, like, I don't wanna-" it's usually pretty apparent when it's your passion. And I think that rubs off on people, because that is where other people start to get inspired or motivated. And those things aren't, as I mentioned, just self-serving, where it's like, I enjoy this and that's that. Like, I kind of enjoy this. It's just something I do. So I think, but at the core of it, I think purpose is more of service. How can this help other people?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And if you have to think about some of the sacrifices that you had to make in order to stay true to your purpose, what would it be?
Man, like, I mean, on the work level, like, I've I would I would have shows that were at night after my full 9 to 5, and go in the next day super, get up the next day at 6, super tired. But I'm passionate about this and passionate
Yes.
about it. So there's a lot of sacrifice on the back end that people don't see. There it's not always you know glitz and glamour. Like, even with writing, people don't see the hours and hours that go into editing the book, like, over and over and over and over again. So there's the sleep part of it. There's even with singing and putting a band together, the amount of money that I've poured from my own pocket into certain things, because of the belief in it. Because when you believe in something, and there's a certain payoff and trade-off that you've got to be willing. Like, if someone says they really want something, I'm looking at their actions. Like, I'm looking
Yeah.
at their actions, because, again, to me, everything goes back to your actions. But yeah, there's been a lot of behind the scenes. I mean, it took probably close to 2 years to write Journey to Purpose, but to be honest, the writing wasn't even the hard part. It was the editing. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of editing. So, and it's because, maybe some people don't put that type of time into it. Maybe some people do. But the thing is that when you care about the finished product and how you want it to impact people, you're putting in that time behind the scenes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'll hand you back over to Andy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am intrigued by your
Yes.
story. Um, I'm gonna look at something here. While there is time,
Oh,
it says this book focuses on time.
hmm.
Fact is, we all have been gifted with time. The reality is, time does not stand still. That is so true. I have to remind myself of that every day.
Hmm.
Yes.
Time slips away. I
Yep.
mean, it absolutely waits on no one.
No.
These are not necessarily bad things after all, but this is what you write here that really intrigues me. That being the case, this book reminds us how to appreciate time, how to value time, and how to spend time in a timely fashion. Wow, I love that. Not wasted. For me personally, Rachel, it's about investing time. How do we encourage people to think about time as a priceless commodity and engage that in our purpose driven life to really create something that is meaningful and valuable, at least while we have the opportunity to use the time?
Yeah. Another good question. Yeah. The thing is that we're only certain of now. Like we are only certain of now, and um, obviously that hit me a lot more so this past month and a half. But um, I think we've all been guilty of like we kind of expect tomorrow. Like
Mhm.
we all do. We all expect tomorrow. No
Yeah.
one's thinking like tomorrow's not coming. We just don't wake up thinking like this is it. This is there might not. We don't. We always think that there's time. And I think that it is important to plan for the future. Like you don't just want to not just aimlessly go through. But
Yes.
the thing is that the now is something that in a lot of ways we take for granted because we assume that there's a tomorrow.
Mm.
Right. So because we assume that there's tomorrow, there might be some things that we need to say. There's some things that I'm not going to get to say anymore in this life that I wish I had planned to say to my father. Right. But
Yes.
I can't. That's not in this life. Not where he's here in the flesh and we're having a conversation. So uh, I think that is really important to ask yourself, what am I okay? What can I live with not saying that I wanted to say? If I don't get to say this thing, can I really live with it if I don't get to say it? If I don't do this thing, can I live with myself if I don't do it? Or am I going to be filled with regrets at some point? Like, I think that is something that we seriously need to ask ourselves. Is this something that I would be okay with if I didn't say that to this person? Would I be okay if I didn't go after that dream? Would I really be able to live with myself, or would I constantly wonder, what if? Why didn't I try? Like, why didn't I try to see if I could have made that happen? Right. So I think it's really important for us to like get real with ourselves. Because a lot of times we're not, you know what I'm saying? We're like, I'm so real, but it's really important for us to get real with ourselves, and then to really start to take action and implement. What can I? Because I've been guilty of this too. I'll just do this tomorrow. Why not? And there are some, it doesn't mean that we're living rush, 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 and trying to do a million things all the same day. But the thing is that there are certain things that, I mean, if we're real with ourselves, we know when we're giving less than 100%, when we're, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to push, push, push all the time. A part of being in the now is knowing when to rest and step back too. So it's not just all rest, because I wrote about how I always used to be team no sleep. Look at me, I only got 4 hours, blah, blah, blah. That was because, but the thing is that rest is important too. That is a part of being in the now and taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, your body, how am I eating, all of these things. So, but like treating the now like, okay, I know for sure I have now. I know for sure it's 6:56, it's 7:56 where you are. I know for sure about this. What am I doing about it?
Yes.
No one thinks like, oh, tomorrow. No, there's no date book that says you have 15 more days or whatever.
Mm.
We know about now.
Yeah.
So I think once we start to train our minds like that, then of course if like I said this morning was, man, the devil was trying today, boy. The devil was trying, like, right. And I really, like, once I stepped outside, I really had to calm myself down. I was like, okay, like, it's cool, I got this. Like, once the cold air hit my face, I started to feel better. I was like, okay. So, sometimes we just need to step back, and just, regroup. But, you know yeah, we gotta ultimately find a way to come back to like now.
Hmm. Yes.
Now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I'm so impressed by the way you expand on the questions that we ask you. You really go deep, Rachel, and it tells me that you are really into your purpose and you truly epitomize the heart of a warrior with the simple manner in which you observe the reality of life and at the same time seek to get the positive things out of what you're actually doing. And that's
Yeah.
impressive. I look around and I see few people having that kind of mindset,
Mhm.
and it's really hard because when you think about the many challenges that the youths, the young people are faced with today, they're looking for mentors. They're
Mhm.
looking for direction, Rachel and Gabriella and Dexter. They are trying to find something of value, something of purpose. But when they look at the leaders around, they're not seeing it. Everybody seems to be involved in a commercial rush. Let's do this, let's get this for whatever reason or purpose. But when we
Yeah.
look innate virtual value that
Yeah.
tells us who this person is, they're hardly seeing that. What can we do with regards to our personal life that would send that message to them so that they realize, hey, there's still hope. We can do better than the dollars and the cents. There's more to life than just being a superstar or the best politician, quote unquote, on the planet. How can we engage them in that kind of mindset, Rachel?
Yeah. Um, I think with the way things are set up right now, it's that is a challenging. There
Yeah,
there is a lot of inundation with, like I'm not opposed to social media, but at the same time, I definitely grew up in an era without it, and I am grateful for that. But I
yeah,
will say though that it's a lot more now. It's a lot more that is like there are a lot more distractions now. So this is like a conscious effort. I think like this is a part of why I enjoy when I go into high schools, because what I found is that like it enables me to be in a position where I'm able to help break down this barrier. Because when kids are around their peers, everyone's like, but once we start writing and they actually get up and perform, like, man, all of a sudden you see their classmates looking around and it's like they see a different side of them that maybe was that, maybe they were a little more guarded. See, that's what art does. It opens up your heart because when you're writing and creating from your heart, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position. And that's where the connection happens. That's where the human element comes in, where it's like, oh, okay, wow, I don't need to be, because, we all have this shell, to an extent when we're in the world, and depending on the environment, we might be more guarded than in other places. But in high school, obviously, you want to fit in, and you're still at the age where you're still finding yourself too. That's why I said for me, like it was really amazing that I was able to get volunteers because again, art like opens you up. It takes down the walls and the barriers, and you realize that you're around different types of people and we have so much in common, and like I might have thought that you were this way, but actually look, we're so I think that's what it is. It really is gonna, to me, and this is the thing. I know in a lot of schools, like the funding with the art, they're like slashing it, but that's actually really that's what helped me to find my voice. So I'm like always an advocate for that, and that's a part of why I go back to high schools when I get the opportunity, because it's like I know what the arts did for me. And again, I know how isolating, like, man, some of the stuff that those kids wrote and were brave enough to get up and perform, I know their classmates had no idea. Like, and they like
mm,
really put it out there. They were really
yeah,
vulnerable. And I
yeah,
was like, wow, like, man, so people have so much bottled up inside and
yes,
probably never would have expressed it if they weren't writing.
mm,
And that's what I'm saying. That's why. So I think the arts, like, and community and talk, all of this is important. How we combat that, because if you think about it, we're not really talking as much. We're just like scrolling through images and looking at things, and the music is really easy to stream now. Like,
yeah,
so before you went out and bought the CD, it was a little more time. You might be talking with a friend on your way to buy the CD, but now it's like easier to be inundated. So it's really going to take a deliberate effort. Because for me, everything's about balance. Like obviously teenagers have to find their voice in their way. It's like, they're going to listen to some things that maybe we might not want. That's just what it is. We've all been teenagers. But the thing is that, yeah, I think it's going to be, a deliberate like reaching out, because like it's going to take people to actually extend themselves,
yes,
because it's easier to just kind of go with this is what's in my face, this is what I'm seeing. So it's going to take more people to reach out and say, let me show you some other ways, right? Let me show
Okay. We seem to have lost her there. Wow. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my.
Yeah, yeah.
In the heart of it.
Oh, come on, technology. Don't do that to us. Oh my
That's because she was talking it bad.
Maybe, just
Oh
maybe.
my.
Oh my goodness. So next, let's just put up the thought of the week, and we hope that we could get Rachel back so we can have a happy ending. Oh, there she is. Hi, Rachel. Oops, it's bobbing in and out. Okay, so we could put up the thought of the week. We could look at that, and let's hope we can still get her back. So, yeah, thought of the week. Never underestimate the power of determination. Anyone can achieve anything at any time. Never underestimate the power of determination. Anyone can achieve anything at any time. And certainly, our guest has achieved a lot. You know what I take into consideration? You can't hear us? Can you hear us now? Oh, she's having a problem to hear us. Um, Gabriella, what impresses me so much about Rachel is that she's seeking the opportunity to engage with the youth.
Yes.
She's thinking future. Not
Mhm.
not many people are doing that at the moment, and they need someone to be there to understand them and to create the necessary outlets so that they don't find themselves going into a place of depression, but rather having an opportunity to express some of the things that otherwise would have remained hidden.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I believe she said something very powerful at the beginning where she said that, a lot of times the youth are not heard,
Yeah.
you know, and, we grew up in the household and in our house from way back where, children have to be quiet, what you say is not important, you have to listen to the adults, but we are shifting from that perspective now to that embracing of listening to what your children have to say, because at the end of the day they too are going through challenges, they too are facing obstacles, and sometimes the parents also need to break that mindset where
Hmm.
they think that the children are not going through anything. They have everything. I given you food, I given you shelter, I given you money. What it is you could be possibly going
Yeah.
through,
Yeah.
but they are going through so many things. And the fact that Rachel is creating this outlet where they could be expressive, and not even be on their phones as much, but
Mm,
create that avenue for them to express their true human side, as she says, and be vulnerable is critical in our era. So I commend that recommendation for our youths in this time.
And
yeah.
I don't know what I couldn't hear y'all earlier. My apologies.
That's okay.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, you was talking about the technology. I guess that's why it broke down.
Right? But no, yeah, you're right. The thing is that like it comes down to being heard. People want to
Yes.
be heard. It doesn't matter if they're 5, 6, 7. And actually, I think maybe what some parents don't realize is that this tone is set from very early. From very early, this person's feeling not worthy of being heard, very seen,
Yes.
being dismissed. And, you know, it's like, it might even start to build up some resentment even from an early age where it's like, I don't feel people feel you can make someone feel valued from a very early age. And all the gifts and all of those things are nice. At the end of the day, people want your time. This is why I wrote about time. Time is so important. That's something you cannot put a price on. Giving someone your time truly from their heart
Yes.
and having someone feel hurt. That's how people feel cared for and loved. And you can't put a price on those things.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have a comment by Wesley Ryan. We could just put it across the screen there. And so, Rachel, you're gonna hear this in real time, right? Good evening, my brother and Gabriella. Hope Rachel, come. There you
I'm
go.
hearing.
All right, good. So you know what's happening, right? We are gonna have to find a way to get you back here in a couple of months' time or two. So a part two is gonna happen.
I'm
So
in. I'm in.
wonderful. So Wesley, you're gonna get your wish, my brother. Thank you for your company. We appreciate you. And we have to wrap up now, but we'll ask Rachel to stick around just for 2 minutes as we come to the end. And I just want to give Gabriela the last word as we say bye to our fellow supporters and our family, friends, and loved ones out there. Continue to do all that you need to do to break out of depression. Gabriela?
Thank you, Andy. So I am your co-host, Gabriella Woods, alongside our host, Andy Charles, reminding you that the heart of a warrior is not measured by the battles that they have faced, but by the purpose they pursue beyond them. So keep rising, keep fighting, and keep walking boldly in your purpose. Until next time, stay strong and purposeful. Bye.
There ain't got no way, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. No, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. No, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. No, ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord. Trouble in my way, but daily hear me say, ain't got no way, ain't got no way, ain't got no way, ain't got no way. The harvest is plenty, Lord, but the workers are so few. Ain't got no way I'm gonna make it without my Lord, no. Men are dying, Lord, there's just so much work to do. There ain't got no way, ain't got no way I'm gonna